Agenda with the following changes. We're going to add the approval of our county attorney for another year. And what else did you want to add, Matt?
You have potential employees to be introduced tonight, Mayor.
Okay.
I made a motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public comment. Individuals wishing to address the board are asked to provide their name and address for the record, and I hope you've signed in. So anybody that'd like to speak, come forward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Sherry Barefoot. I live at 104 Willa Chase Court. I am here to represent the Homeowners Association of Willa Chase Subdivision. Late Friday afternoon, August 10th, we became aware of the association that Willa Properties had offered to donate the common areas of our subdivision to the town of Benson. And as a community, we object to that for several reasons. First thing, according to our covenants, Willa Properties, as stated in Article 6, Section 6.3, states that prior to the first lot conveyed within the subdivision, the deeds for all real property portions of the common areas were to be transferred to the association. The first lot was conveyed in May of 2008, and regardless of the legal obligation to do so, the deeds for the common areas were not transferred to the association. Willa Properties has no legal authority to represent the association as they no longer have any voting rights. Willa Properties Class B membership ceased in or around June of 2017 and converted to Class A membership. On January 6, 2018, Ms. Artie Lutton, a representative of Willa Properties, emailed Mr. McClam, our then president, advising her that as of December 29, 2017, all lots in the Willa Chase subdivision were closed, and that the deeds of the common areas would be executed that same week and delivered to the Homeowners Association. As of December 29, 2017, when all lots closed, all voting rights of Willa Properties ceased. The deeds were never executed as stated in the January 6 email, and over the course of several months, requests were made by the association to obtain the deeds. Each time a request was made, Ms. Lutton would say that Mr. Blackman had not signed them yet. At the last request made to obtain the deeds from Willa Properties on July 23, 2018, Ms. Lutton responded that Mr. Blackman had not signed them and that he'd get to it after his meeting with his CPA. The homeowners, the people that bought into this community, should be the ones that benefit, if there should be any benefit at all, from the common areas, not the town of Benson nor anyone else. It is apparent to the association that in spite of legal obligations to do so, Willa Properties never intended to transfer the deeds to the association. We are appalled at the deceitful manner in which Willa Properties has made this offer to the town without communicating with the association at all. Should the transfer of this property take place without the association's consent, or if there is further delay in the deeds being executed to the association, legal action against the participants will transpire. The association respectfully asks that you vote against the proposed transfer of the Willa Chase common areas to the town of Benson of Willa Properties. And if anyone, we do have available for review, if anyone is interested, copies of our restrictive covenants, articles of incorporation, and bylaws for the Willa Chase subdivision, in addition to emails between Ms. Lutton and our then president of our Homeowners Association, Mr. McClam. Thank you.
Anything that you want the board to have passed to the clerk? We have that on the agenda, and we will deal with it at that time. Anybody else like to speak before the board? Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Medlin, Mayor Pro Tem Stack, distinguished commissioners, Town Manager Matt Zapp, It is my honor to appear before the board to briefly address the restoration of our beloved Benson Civic Center tennis courts. My name is Reggie Holly. Thank you, Mayor. And first, a word of thanks. On behalf of all those who have enjoyed these tennis courts over the years, I offer appreciation to the board for your adoption of Commissioner Dean McClam's motion to restore the tennis courts to their former splendor through a private-public partnership. Since the adoption of the McClam motion, Manager Zapp has convened a working committee of private and public stakeholders to bring this project to fruition. And so, thank you, Manager Zapp and Parks Director Matt Smith, for your dynamic, collective leadership. My fellow chairs, William Bill Allman and Tommy Edmund Johnson, and I were excited to join our mayor and town leaders in announcing last Thursday morning the Tennis Courts Capital Campaign that seeks to achieve a final benchmark of $110,000. We anticipate a promising and collaborative approach, an example of what working together is really all about. With the campaign now underway, we will keep you apprised of our achievements. Clearly, our aspiration is to restore our Benson tennis courts to assure that they are an asset, and I would add, an amenity for all who are proud to call Benson home. Finally, Commissioner Dean McClam, you served the first ball on this court, and your colleagues returned your serve. Because of you, all the citizens of our town will again have the opportunity to volley on these courts someday, and someday soon. Thank you for your service. Game on.
Thank you, and there was a good article in the Daily Record today on the tennis court. Chairs. Do we have any more chairs for the visitors?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir, but the chairs are in the room, we can put more chairs out of staff.
Anybody else like to come forward? While she's coming, I just want to remind y'all that this is the first meeting that we've had that our proceedings are being recorded. And you'll hear more about that as we go along.
I'm Wanda Pender, and I'm here for the Copper Creek subdivision that is old business. And we would like to respectfully request that if this pushes through, that it carry a lowered speed limit in that area for Tall Hill Road. If it can be submitted to the DOT to do so.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to the board? I'll call on, one more. Okay.
Bill Johnson, 206 West Main, Benson. I don't want to get in the middle of this dogfight apparently tonight. These citizens I'm glad to see here, glad to see citizens taking part in the town. want to talk a little bit about the new board. I'm proud of the new board that's come on, and Mayor Medlin, and doing some good things. I'm very discouraged with the town of Benson as a whole, how it's been run for the last few years. I've got an example that just happened this afternoon. But I'm here tonight to say that in the next few weeks, we are going to try to take a more active role in coming to these meetings and expressing our concerns and giving our kudos where necessary. I just see a lot of things with the town of Benson that we are not happy with. I've got a group that was in my office today, concerned citizens that will be coming in the next few weeks to these meetings and taking part. That's what they need to do, and I told them that. I had a conversation yesterday with a couple of the commissioners and had expressed some of the things, the direction we did not like that the town had been going in the last few years with the previous administration and the town officials, and that just things that are being done here in the town. And again, these members will be coming forward in the next few weeks, and again, in cooperation with the new commissioners and some of the old commissioners that are here looking out for the town's best interests, we will be bringing some of these issues forward and trying to address the concerns that they have and that I have with the way the town's been run. So again, I don't want to get in the middle of this situation here tonight. There's a lot of people here for that. I'm glad to see that, and we'll be seeing you guys in the next. And good job, Mayor. I think you've come on and done a really fine job the last couple of weeks, and we'll be talking to you guys in the future.
Thanks for coming, Bill. We really appreciate when people in the community come out to the meetings. We like to hear from you, to let us know what you feel and what we need to do. Is anybody else? I'm going to call on Annie Fisco from Electricities to come and, actually this is a customer service survey that was from a previous time, but we wanted the newer members of the board to have a chance to get it, so Matt got Andy to come.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out again there. And so for the most part, if you saw this last year, most of the information is the same. I do have some new information because we conducted the survey again this year for other cities that we serve. So we have rolled their data into some of the comparative numbers. I'll just start with a little bit of background on the survey. In 2015 and 2016, Electricities developed a strategic plan, and that strategic plan was not only focused on Electricities as an organization, it was focused on the needs of our members. In that plan, we identified 5 strategic priorities, one of those being continuous improvement. And we felt like a key factor of continuous improvement was customer satisfaction. Clearly that would be linked to that. So we initiated this survey in 2017 for the first time. This was offered statewide to all of our members. It was conducted at no additional charge to those members who wanted to participate in the survey. And last year we had 10 of our members participate in the survey, Benson being one of them. This year we had 10 additional members that didn't include Benson, and they were different from the 10 members who participated last year. So the survey firm we use is a firm called Great Blue Research. They're out of Connecticut. And there's some statistical information for you at the bottom of the page. But basically, you know, Benson isn't the largest town that serves electricity. And what that is saying is that we collected what we felt, and based on Great Blue's recommendations, enough surveys to, you know, get a statistically significant sampling of the data. So I'll start with a little discussion on the makeup of your customers, and this focuses on some of the demographic data. What I will say is that while it may or may not look like it, your customer base is relatively young compared to our other cities. 34% of your customers fall in that 18 to 44-year-old category. where only 25% fall 65 or older. And generally, the 65 or older for our other member cities falls above 30%. I think you can see the age demographic playing out over in time at current residence. These are residential customers, I should point out. And you have 32% who've only been in their residence for 1 to 5 years, and 32% who've been in their residence for more than 10 years. So kind of split there. Again, I would link that to the age of your customer base. And then finally, some statistics on home ownership. Again, comparing that to our other cities, generally we see home ownership above 60% in our city. Closely related to demographics is customer segmentation in an area that we feel is very important, because when you understand your customer segments, then you have a better understanding of what the customers want in your town. And we had questions in our survey. We had 55 questions for residential customers, and some of those questions helped us identify customers in each of these segments. And these are tied to a national firm called the Smart Energy Consumer Collaborative. So these segments are defined by that firm, and their questions are included on our survey. And the reason why we did that is, being a part of this collaborative, we were able to then tie results from your specific survey to national research that they had conducted on these customer segments. For the most part, I think the 2 or 3 words you see describing each segment are pretty self-explanatory. The thing that I will point out is the first 2 segments, status quo and technology cautious, are generally the most easily to please. These are folks who really don't get that involved with their electric utility as long as the lights are on, and there's no significant hiccups with their bill. You're not going to hear much from them, either good or bad. The lower 3 categories, however, are segments that do seek engagement with their utility. As you can tell by the name, there are different reasons why they are seeking engagement with their respective utility, but they're looking for more than just reliable power and low cost. If they're a green champion, they want to be sure that they are helping the environment. And if they're saving seekers, perhaps they're lower income or having trouble paying their bills, so they would be seeking things like rebate. Remember the 17.5% under saving seekers. I will get that in a minute, but I will point to the bar chart at the bottom of the page, and Benson is the green bar on that bar chart. The red bar is our other member cities. Purple are the IOUs, which is predominantly Duke, and the blue is the co-op. So as you can see, you have a lot of saving seekers, and I'll touch on this in a minute. In fact, I will touch on this in my next slide. So first off, I apologize. The hard copy that you have in front of you has some boxes that outline some numbers. Those were a mistake. Just ignore the boxes. I took those off at the last minute, but this is inaccurate. The numbers didn't change, though. What you see in this is in our survey, we asked a series of questions to gauge customer satisfaction. The first 7 questions you see are specific questions in specific areas. How satisfied are you with the reliability of your electric service, and so on. The last question, overall satisfaction, is a question unto itself. It is not the average of the 7 numbers above it. It is the result of a question overall. How satisfied are you with your electric utility? I won't touch on all the numbers on the page, but what I will do is point out that the columns represent Benson and then competitive types of utilities. Town of Benson being the leftmost column of numbers there. Public power, which is our other members across the state, our other public power cities, IOUs, predominantly Duke, and co-ops are the rural electric cooperatives. I will highlight a couple of numbers, though. We see there, Benson scored relatively low on that particular number. And not knowing your particular situation, that may or may not be reflective of the true comparison of your retail rates against competitive rates. There may be a number of reasons why. Yes, your customer's perception may be accurate. Your rates may be higher than your competitors, but I don't know that. You'll have to talk to your electric department on that. But there are other reasons why that may be the case. It may be a perception issue. If you recall, in 2015, Eastern Municipal Power Agency sold its generating asset. As a result of that sale, wholesale costs were dropped significantly. And I know as a fact that the town of Benson reduced their retail costs. So it may very well be the case that retail costs are in line with the competition. However, there's this kind of ongoing memory of your customers of the days when that wasn't the case. The other thing to point out on that issue is being served by a municipality, customers can get a bill with not only their electric portion on it, what they have to pay for that, but they get refuse, water, sewer, and sometimes your customers may be looking at the grand total of that bill as opposed to just the electric portion, because if you're due, all you're doing is providing a bill for electric service. So the point being is, to get to the bottom of that number, I would recommend doing a little bit of research. The other number that I'll point out on the bottom of the page is the overall satisfaction number. And based on the comparative results of all of your other questions there, I think your overall satisfaction number is being impacted by that cost number. Generally, that is the case when there's a low score for that providing value for the cost of electricity. That does disproportionately bring down the overall satisfaction number. So if you remember in the last slide, I said, remember the fact that you have a disproportionate number of saving seekers in your customer segment that may be driven by this perception over cost. Please interrupt me as I go if you have any questions. So moving off of the satisfaction scores and on to the customer awareness scores. This is a trend that we've found across all of our public power utilities. And basically, we are asking all of the customers, residential and commercial, there are three types of utilities: investor-owned utilities, rural electric cooperatives, and municipally owned utilities. Which one do you believe serves you? The two circles at the top of the page there show that only 50.6% of the residential customers correctly identified their electric utility provider as being a municipally owned utility. A little better on the commercial side, but still low. Less than 2/3 of your commercial customers recognize Benson as being the electric utility. That is a significant thing when you look at the box on the lower left-hand side of the page, where nearly 2/3 of your customers would not change service if given the opportunity. And furthermore, the bar chart at the bottom of the page shows that at least for your residential customers, it is very important that they are served by a municipally owned utility. So really the takeaway of this page is, at least on the residential side, that when customers realize that they're being served by a municipally owned utility, they think that's important and they value that. However, nearly half of your customers don't realize that they're being served that way. Now, on the commercial side, your commercial customers did not find much value in being provided service by a municipally owned utility. That's not to say that they necessarily think it's bad, it's that they may just be indifferent. A little bit about customer expectations. We asked both residential and commercial customers, what did they, were you meeting their expectations? And first off, they kind of rated their top expectations on the top and how well you were meeting them. So from the residential side, you scored best with reliable electric service. Funny thing, the second best score you got on the residential side was the low rate. However, that kind of contradicts the information on the previous page. And then third was good customer service. So that is how you're meeting their top expectations there. On the commercial side, you had the same three expectations identified. However, a low rate was rated first instead of reliable. Okay. Finally, the final set of information here is just what types of programs your customers are looking for. I'm not necessarily going to go through all of these, but I think as you can tell from the top of the page, your customers are most interested in energy efficiency rebate and energy audit. I know that your customers can get energy audits, and that is definitely a service you can provide to them. The only other thing I would point out here is there's a significantly high interest on the energy usage seminars, so I think there's potentially an education opportunity for your customers that would be well received. So just to kind of summarize things, we went through the 5 segments. You have a significant number of customers who do seek and engage with you. I think even though you had kind of a low score on the cost of service provided, your scores were still relatively strong and comparable to your competition. Customer awareness, as we talked about, is something that I think you have an opportunity to improve, which will help your scores. And then, you know, for the most part, I think your customer expectations are
Anybody have any questions of Andy?
If you've done these studies with other Electricities people that were in our situation, how many of them had low scores and high scores? How'd that question go with them?
Well, across the board, the lowest scored was always the cost of electricity. There's no question about that. In the East, we had to deal with a lot related to that perception issue. There was a situation with one eastern city where their customers scored them even lower than Benson on the cost of, you know, electricity provided. However, in that particular situation, they were the lowest cost provider in the region. They were lower than the co-ops, and they were lower than Duke. So, you know, it kind of points to the fact that there's many, you know, this is perception, and I think, you know, our job is to ensure that perception reflects reality.
Any other questions? Thanks a lot for coming, Andy.
Thanks for having me.
We have the monthly report from the staff. Anybody have any questions with the staff on that? Matt, you want to go through the department reports, the status of the update?
For the large project, yes, sir. So where we stand right now, we're over 80% complete on the backflow check valve project, which is installing over 30 check valves along the US 301 corridor. That's a 100% grant of $80,000. They're in the final throes of putting the remaining check valves in and then coming back to do concrete and asphalt repairs. So we just wanted to let you know the good news there. We are nearly complete with the $150,000 grant we received for the AIA study, which is surveying all of your sanitary sewer lines, camera, and cleaning along the way to get a full report of the spot areas that need repaired. I would like to report to you the importance of that has resulted into the failure at Elm Street in Maine. That's just a prime example. We were in that area trying to camera, and we were in that area trying to clean, and you couldn't get through that area as the pipe had failed, which is why you see ELJ on scene completing that emergency repair, and keep in mind that they're nearly 16 plus feet below grade. So it's an important fix, but that fix is going to be attributable to the next item, which is item 3. And item 3 was the $875,000 grant that we received in NC-16 funds. So we're in the final stages of getting the full report back, but we knew that we had an immediate repair on Main Street, so staff had contracted and mobilized to get that repaired, and that process, as you know, tonight is still underway. Item 4 is very important. That number moved from a $750,000 amount to $960,000 from FEMA. We had a conversation less than 2 weeks ago that Benson will be able to utilize all $960,000 of FEMA repair dollars at the wastewater treatment plant. We're in the process of doing that. And in fact, one item on your new business tonight is approval of the fencing, which is the perimeter fence that came down during the hurricane, and we are looking to have that up and running. In addition to multiple other items at the plant, we have our engineers coming back out this week to do a survey and an update, and then we'll continue to bring forward large projects for you at the plant that would need your approval for construction and repair. The Golden Leaf application for the repair of the stormwater failures, as you know, has been approved. We're working on that item, and we're moving forward with approvals. In fact, you have some issues before you tonight. We're just awaiting, as we are in multiple other projects, easements to be secured, as you had a change of hands at the Napa structure on 301. which was formerly Jerry Don McClam's property, which is now changing hands. So as soon as we get that approval, we'll be back underway there. And then your Golden Leaf grant application of $500,000 at the Public Works Building, to let you know that they're fully complete with the replacement of the new roof. We were on site today with an architect and an HVAC, electrical, mechanical, plumbing engineer, working to get our stamp drawings done so that we can continue to move forward with the balance of the work of that structure. So if there's any questions on items 1 through 6, either I'll be happy to answer them if it's more technical than I.
Any questions? I'm gonna make a little bit of a change to use the prerogative. We're gonna cover Copper Creek South, and then we're gonna go over to page 3 on G and consider request from the Willa Chase subdivision. And so that, this group won't have to stay here any longer than they want to. So, Braxton, come forward on, the Copper Creek South.
Terry brings up the information that was provided for you. I'm just going to give you a real quick recap of Copper Creek South, what was originally submitted by the developer, and where we're at today, and answer the questions that were you'd asked us to investigate previously at the meeting on July 10th. So this is involving subdivision of approximately 66 plus acres. The original submission that was before you last time was they were proposing 85 lots with 2 points of ingress-egress joining Tar Heel Road. At that meeting, you were advised that the planning board did consider the plat and did approve the plat with the condition that a type A buffer be placed along certain portions to buffer the existing lots adjoining the development. And the developer did agree and amended his plat in anticipation of submitting, bringing that to this body. So that was done. At that meeting, you'd asked, you delayed action on the item, wanting staff to, wanting to hear something from the county on the northerly side. There was a submission before the county, and it was removed from the county planning board agenda, I believe the day of or the day before their meeting. That was done at the developer's request. My understanding is that some soils investigation with not only the northerly portion of the site, but the southerly portion as well. The soils investigation revealed that there were some unsuitable soils for septic systems, and so they had to rethink the design, especially with the northerly site, more so with the northerly site. I understand that to be reduced in great scope. As of today, I do not have an agenda for next week's Johnston County Planning Board meeting, so I have no idea if it's going to be on that meeting or not. I did make contact with Johnston County, and they have not solidified that agenda yet, so I'll be waiting to hear from them tomorrow. But it was, last version of the northerly side that I saw was a five lot division of property there, as opposed to the previous iteration, which was roughly around 36 lots, if memory serves right, 37. So hopefully that answers that question. Second, we were asked to go back to DOT and inquire about the lack or the non-need or non-necessity of a turning lane, since it was reduced in scope from the original submission at the sketch phase. And they have reiterated that their requirements based on the average daily trips generated from this development and what is existing today still does not require any improvements along Tar Heel Road, so it will not require any widening or turning lanes there. And so they did reiterate that with us. So what you have before you, from July 10th to now, the developer, once again, they did some additional soil investigation, we got results back from some soil investigation, and what they have done is, submitted a new plat. In essence, it's very similar. There's not substantial change. The biggest change is that there's a reduction in number of lots again, from 85 now down to 67. So it's a reduction of 18 lots. The street structure is essentially the same. There is actually less impervious in the streets. As you can see here, this is actually the first page, and you don't mind this point of reference. This is the easterly, entrance to the development. This is the western up at the top of the screen. And previously, what you had in this cul-de-sac here was actually two leading into this area. And same on this bottom, on the second half. This was two in this area as opposed to the one today not in that area. So you have actual reduction. The amount of, I do believe the amount of impervious is roughly, or of open space, is actually the same. It's still at 12.5%. The lots just got larger and they reduced the impervious area, with regard to the streets, in this. But, I'll be glad to, answer any questions for you. From a point of planning board review, we don't feel that there's a necessity for planning board to re-review. It's not a substantial change other than the reduction of lots. It's actually less intense. There's less impervious, and the ingress, egress, number of ingress, egress, and their locations did not change at all. So, we just don't feel that the planning board needs to see that.
Does anybody have any questions for Weston?
When they go testing, soil, testing, do they do each lot, or do they just pick it off the?
I'll let the developer answer that as opposed to
That's
myself.
a year?
Yes, I believe they are here. Just keep in mind, you don't have a public hearing. You close the public hearing. So
Right.
You would have to open that back up, and they would have to be sworn if it's evidentiary hearing.
Is there any other questions?
The initial recommendation from the planning board was to have those, I think those buffers, are those buffers still in place?
Yes, they're shown on your plan as well. So they're still shown here. So they're shown here, and then along the frontage, the Tar Hill Road, and down every existing lot, and on the backside of the kiosk next to us, it's got the street. So they're still shown on the plan.
I got another question. If somebody has problems with their septic tank, how's the deal? Who's liable? I'm recalling the case back in Sampson County where they passed something and the county got drugged through it because they passed an septic tank issue.
That would, once again, that would be, if the county environmental health, Johnson County Environmental Health approves all septic systems within the county, regardless if they're in, even if they're in a municipal boundary. No, sir, not for that, because that's out of your hands. It's out of the town's hands completely.
What is the wishes of the board on SD 2018-01?
So the lot sizes have been reduced. They would, I mean,
The
number of homes.
in essence, they've been increased, or, and some of them have actually been unchanged, but the number of lots have been reduced.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am, the number of lots. So you've reduced from 85 to 67 at this point. And just to give you an idea of, this is, was provided by the engineer. So the shaded area is those areas, and this is the northern side, which is the county citizen, and this is the town citizen. So that shaded, the darkly shaded area, that is the areas where you have the unsuitable soil. So that's, I'm assuming that's what's driving the reduction in the lots.
One more question, Brad. In response to the request that was made tonight as far as the speaking, we don't have any control over the speakers.
No, sir.
That would be formally directed to DOT by citizen.
That, yes, sir, it would. The NCDOT would have to make that determination. I'm assuming the streets would be dedicated to NCDOT. They will be constructed NCDOT specs per our requirements here locally.
So as far as we're concerned tonight, we're dealing with this project at 67 lots.
Yes, sir.
It's not subject to change again.
No, if it was subject to change, that would have to come back before this body to be approved, if there's a substantial change. Sometimes you will have to, when you get to full design, full construction design, you do have minor modifications. It may, if it's a lot or two that's being reduced, but they would not be increased without coming back.
There's a possibility we would have voted for this the last time in 85 lots. That would have been a considerable change.
It would have, yes, sir. But with construction, and sometimes you have the situation with construction where, you know, you get into it and you find that there, the environment is not conducive for infrastructure to be placed where it was originally platted and intended. So you have to make minor modifications. That's what we're talking about, strictly minor modifications on the physical improvements, not so much the layout, the massive layout.
But I'm just saying we very easily could have voted on this back in July in 85 lots. Obviously, there's a reason for there being a reduction of 18 lots. Is there a possibility that we're going to have something else to come back in and to modify that's pretty substantial?
I can't speak to that. I can say there's possibility of anything, but I can't speak to that specifically. The developer is represented here, and I'll be asked. I could care to ask him. I would say if you do bring forward, I would advise me reopening the public hearing and give all parties a chance to speak in fairness. You have the ability to do that.
What's the wishes of the board? Up or down?
President, at this time, we're not gonna wait on the, county planners, right?
That is completely up to this board. As I'll restate, the agenda for next week's county planning board meeting has not been published yet. I probably anticipate that being tomorrow, so, but I did not see it today.
I make the motion that we take staff recommendation and include subdivision as.
It's not staff recommendation, it's planning board recommendation.
My fault. Sorry, Brad.
That's all.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. No, ayes have it. One no. All right, I'm gonna skip over to 8G. Consider the request from Willa Chase subdivision to accept dedication of common area. Braxton Newton.
Yes, sir. In your package, you'll see a memo from myself that basically states that the town was contacted by Willa Properties Incorporated. This development was done in around 2006, 2005, 2007. I think first construction began in 2007. As far as vertical construction with the homes. Willa Properties did contact the town to gauge our interest in accepting dedication to town ownership maintenance. The dedicated or the open space that has been reserved and dedicated for Willa Chase. Here you see the two areas outlined in red on the screen are the two areas in question. I have added a layer on here that shows water features you can see. There is a blue line stream running through the area. Blue line stream is regulated. So there's a riparian buffer there that obviously can't make any substantial improvements in there. Anything permanent in nature cannot be in that riparian buffer, and that's a 50-foot buffer either side of the bank of that blue line stream. I apologize for that. The smaller area in the center of the screen
is actually where they small pond, water body in the middle, somewhat in the middle of that lot. So that it's not really conducive to, for much of anything, unless you do away with the pond. Usually a pond, I'm not sure if it's man-made or if it's a naturally occurring pond, usually they serve a purpose of some sort. So just keep that in mind. This is a plat that was presented to the town when it was approved. This is a type of plat survey and engineering. You can see in both of those areas, the highlight areas, you see the symbology there, it kind of looks like dots. It's actually showing those are delineated wetlands or potential delineated wetlands there. And you can see there is presence in the larger area, the right of your screen, and also the smaller area as well. This is presented at time of approval. So after consideration, staff is recommending that the town does not accept dedication of the open space, basically due to the environment itself and its sensitivity. It is wetlands, and there is a blue line stream there that is of concern to us in trying to create an active or even passive open recreational area. One thing we'll add is this is Hunterwood Place, and this is actually a natural drainage area, so that's actually part of the stream, the drainage system. So there's a stormwater discharge that discharges into that portion of that large area as well. So once again, this doesn't lend itself to any improvement in use of any substantial use.
Any questions, Braxton?
I have questions, but I think it's more for our attorney. Based on what we've been given tonight, each board member got the restrictive covenants for Willa Chase. I know you've not had the opportunity to scan it as thoroughly as you would like to, but in the event that this board wanted, if we wanted to, and that's not whether we should or shouldn't, but even if we wanted to do this, we would want to make certain that we got free and clear time. You would have to. Well, looking at the restrictive covenants that you've had the opportunity to scan, could we even get that? Could we even get free and clear time?
You could. You could.
How would we do that?
You would get that if you had the deed, the conveyance, the instrument that conveyed it to the town would need to be executed by Willa Properties, the owner developer, and the homeowners association. They'd have to agree to it. That's from item 6.3 in the title of common area division in the restricted covenants.
So the request would have to come from more than just the developer or the that has made this request.
If I understood Mr. Newton correctly, the developers made the request, they would need to execute the deed, the owners association would need to execute it as well. If you didn't have both, then the deed wouldn't be.
And at this time, we don't have both requests in this, do we?
I don't believe we have both requesting, and the homeowners association is represented everywhere.
Well, we can't get free and clear title unless everybody requests to give it to us, even if we wanted to.
I agree with that, and now we'll qualify by saying I've not done title work. I have reviewed the restricted covenants of real estate several times today, and since this request came forward in the board packet, I've reviewed them specifically with an eye of analyzing for or looking for this particular provision and what would need to be executed if we were going to accept it. And I think that provision is clear that the homeowners association has a right to enforce that covenant against the developer. So if there was going to be a conveyance, they would have to join in, and if they didn't, then that conveyance would be flawed, and therefore a title would have issues. So we couldn't accept it.
Mr. Mayor, based on that, I just go ahead and make a motion that we not approve this request.
Okay. Motion's been made not to approve the request. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We go back to 7B. Tim Robbins.
I'm not getting mixed up
Okay.
Thank you. As you recall, last meeting, brought forward, was intending to bring forward an item.
Pull the mic to you a little bit. There you go.
How's that? We were intending to bring forward, an item for your approval regarding, the replacement and realignment of the storm line along East Parrish Drive. We ran into some technical difficulties. We had a technical issue with one item of the proposal not being advertised on the web, so we had to reject all bids and go back out for advertisement. I'm happy to say tonight that we did successfully bid the project, and we had 5 companies that responded with bid. So I'm coming to you tonight with your request to approve this project for award to R.D. Braswell Construction Company in the amount of $262,494.60. This price is 5% above our engineer's estimate, but still well within the contingencies that were allowed for within his estimate.
Any questions of Tim?
When would the work begin?
Immediately after mule days.
What was that response?
Immediately after mule days.
Okay. We're good with the bidding process this time, everything's fine.
We are.
It's low bid, this is the low bid.
That's right.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
On that motion, that we get that proposal from R.D. Braswell.
Any other? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it.
Mr. Mayor, if we can, as we go into new business, we would like to go ahead and introduce new staff if that's appropriate. We can
Okay.
Chief Edwards will come in. You just hang tight and we'll take just.
Hi, Board, I'm Weston, Jonathan Becker, to come up and introduce this stuff to you tonight.
Good afternoon. My name's Jonathan Barefoot, and just thankful for the opportunity to serve the town of Benson and its citizens. Today was my second day on the job, and so I'm very excited to make a career here and look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, come back, Tim. I just want to say something. I was in the supply management business for years, and I think probably these quotations and packets been put together for these 3 things is as good as I've ever seen. So I congratulate you for the way you handled it.
I appreciate that, but I can't take all the credit. There were several people
Take it while
involved
you
in
got
it.
a chance.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to the next one.
Okay.
This is requesting approval to award our on-call concrete contract. We used this method last year. It worked pretty well for us. It's just an on-call contract for concrete installation and finishing. Simply estimated line items that in the event that we need concrete work, we have put it out for competitive bid. We have those line items spelled out in the contract. For example, when I need a piece of curb replaced, I have a contractor in place to come in for an agreed upon amount, within this contract to come in and install curb. That being said, we went out and bid. We had 4 responsive bidders, and our lowest responsible bid is Denning Concrete Company with an amount of $58,350. And again, this would be for estimated quantities for 1 year. Asking for your approval to award this contract as well.
Any questions, Tim?
This is an automatic signature, you just put together the assessment that this is what we may have. And then obviously he's already agreed to a service call price first day to come out and take care of the problem.
That's right. That's right. There's a mobilization price and then a per line item unit price, that was bid. So, I could potentially use none of the contract this year, or we could use potentially up to the entire amount. Last year, our on-call contract, was roughly the same estimated quantities, and we used maybe a third of the actual quantities that were established for bid. So, kind of gives us the flexibility to have somebody on call to come in and do this type of work for us, pretty quickly.
Probably get it done a little cheaper too.
It does, and it just, in the event that we've got a need for a large quantity of work, it just puts us in place with a contractor to move forward so that we're not waiting over a span of a couple of weeks of trying to advertise a proposal for concrete several times throughout the year.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve it.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
North Hill,
North
Hall Street trench repair. Is that next?
It is. I apologize, let my technology catch up with me. We had a trench failure from a sewer line project that occurred several years back. Over time, it's gotten worse each year, and essentially that trench, the backfill in that trench above that sewer line, is continuing to settle and move away from us. We discovered that a water leak also contributed to this situation. So, moving forward, our intent is to get that road bed built back up and get that roadway in good condition. We again put this out for bid. Our lowest responsible bidder was TLC Works, in the amount of $32,165. That's 8% below our estimate. So I'm asking your permission to move forward with awarding this project as well.
Any other questions of Tim?
It's coming out of grant funds.
That one, I'm sorry. Matt.
That one is coming from the money that we saved from the repairs. It was the $110,000 that we were trying to put into the budget for last year for the first payment of our USDA project. We had a surplus of $55,000. We tried to execute this contract before June 30th. So this is the savings that was carried forward from June 30 to July 1.
Tim, I'm glad to see this on the agenda because I was going to bring it up and I said, oh, it's on the agenda.
I know that's been frustrating for you guys.
I'm glad.
But we're looking forward to moving forward with that project. It really should not take a long time, no more than a week, I don't believe, for us to get in there and get out. So be a little inconvenience for a short time because everything kind of dead ends in there. So, having to get through that work zone for a short period of time, be a little inconvenience. But at the end of the day, we're going to get that roadway back up in good condition.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Tim?
Yes, Juan, we talked about if there's an opportunity with our asphalt bidding to do a curb-to-curb full replacement for you, because that road was repaired 2010, 2011, I think Brass and I worked on that when I first got here, and that separation is pretty substantial, so we'll see what we can do about a curb-to-curb as well. Basically under promise and over deliver like we did in Eastwood. So at this point, Tim has a price, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to make the trench repair and put the patch back, and if we can go curb-to-curb, we're gonna try to do that.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with this.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, lawn maintenance service, Matt's out.
Thank you, sir. We have the opportunity to utilize that $960,000 from FEMA, and to do that with our in-house staff and to maximize our manpower. What we would like to do is go with a temporary 4-month mowing bid opportunity, which would run us from tomorrow, which is the 15th of August through December 15th, because our team, right now, we're looking at 10-hour, 12-hour days, and this would free up their manpower from mowing and allow them to get back to maintenance and repair and equipment change outs at the plant. So when we put out the bids, we had 1 responsive bidder, 4 non-responsive bidders. So the lowest and best is our current vendor that's handling all of our right-of-way mowing, that's Lane Lawn Care. The current cost is $4,000 a month or $16,000 for the period. We would recommend that you would consider that and move forward so that we could maximize the usage of that $960,000 from FEMA.
Any questions?
Have we ever anything back from our knowledge?
No, sir.
If we do get fined, will we ever use those FEMA money to cover that dollars?
No, sir. Well, we were making all those repairs. We have line item repairs that are Hurricane Matthew related, and we're stressing that to Diener that what you had is, and the mayor was with us on Monday, we had another failure Sunday night to Monday on a piece of equipment that is simply related to the fact that that plant was 6 foot underwater on October 9th, 10th, and 11th. So it's like having a house flood or vehicular flood. You're chasing it for years after, and we're trying to convey that message to Diener. But on those particular dollars, you can't use them for fines or fees, and you can't use them for generalized maintenance. So things like lawn mowing and tree trimming, you can't. But for every piece that's failed that we're repairing, your fencing, all the issues. So all the broken items are going to be attributable to that $962,000 project, and everything else that's general maintenance would be handled under our normal budget.
And cutting the grass with their facilities that's coming out of Fund 30.
It would just sort of come out of our Fund 30.
What did you say, Dean?
It would come out of Fund 30, not the general fund 10.
It'd come out of the plant maintenance, just like if we pay overtime.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Wastewater fencing, Matt.
We'll let Paul help. Paul help lead that.
Paul, I'm sorry.
Thank
Good evening. We put out for bid on our fencing, and the first one came back because we didn't have enough fence language on, different parts and pieces, so Kim and I put our heads together and we put together the second package. It came back, and we are recommending to go with Tepco fencing out of Wilkes Mills.
Big Jerry's is not me.
What kind of fencing are we putting out there?
It's chain link fencing. We're looking decorative vinyl, but we just can't swing.
But didn't this money come in from?
This is from FEMA.
Yes. This is the safety and security perimeter fence that came down during the flood. And, with this project that Paul and Kim have put together, would remove the existing fence, do trimming, clearing, and necessary improvements, and then they would come back and install the new fence. It's approximately 2,300 lineal feet, I think, plus or minus.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Motion, I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Thank you.
That's that.
No, I think Chief Edwards is next, so. Item E.
Chief.
Now we're going to discuss the, in-car radios from, Communication International asking you to approve us purchasing the additional 7 radios that we need. The total cost for that project is $22,857.81. As you recall, we had purchased 6 radios, and then we had the previous 1 radio, which was put into the truck that I drive, which gives us a total of 14 radios, in-car radios.
Any questions of Chief?
So after this purchase, every car, every vehicle will have a radio.
Take a motion to approve the radio.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Now, Tim Robbins.
Bringing forward to you tonight our request to move forward with the purchase of a mini excavator. This was budgeted in capital outlay, the amount of $75,000. I pursued the existing state contract for this type machine. Went to several different vendors that hold state contract. So went after the best price we possibly could. Actually had a few vendors that were able to utilize some other municipal government bid contracts, doing their very best to get us the best price that they could. I'm recommending that we move forward with the purchase of a Hyundai 55, which is a track machine excavator, in the amount of $77,059.95.
What is that plus any tax?
They will apply tax to that amount,
But you receive your tax back,
but you get your, right.
so it's net neutral.
Any questions of Tim?
What do you say we're using this machine for?
This machine will be used for many different things. It will be used for stormwater repair, utilities, underground utility repair, also for ditching, for cleaning out ditches. Also have included in this quote for a cutter unit. So it's a cutter head that allows for us to clean our outfalls and rights of ways and things like that, clean up ditches. So it's a pretty comprehensive piece of equipment that can do a lot of work for us. This quote also includes the trailer that we would obviously need to be able to tow this piece of equipment around town.
Any other questions?
Have we had one before? We have not.
We've used them, we just leased them or rented them.
We have.
Well, with that being said, Mayor, I make a motion that we approve it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Braxton Newton.
Now we're going to put it up. Oh, no, we can't.
Thank you. As you recall, during the budgetary preparation process for current fiscal year, there was discussion and a request for a comprehensive transportation study, and that was funded in the budget. We subsequently we developed and advertised for request for qualifications from firms qualified to do, to perform this study. We received five responses, and at this time I'll just have Terry pass these around. So we received 5 responses from various consulting firms and 4 different engineering consulting firms, and 1 council of government, being Triangle J Council of Government, of which we are a active member of Triangle J. Myself, Town Manager Matt Zapp, and Public Works Director Tim Robbins reviewed and evaluated the submissions, and we independently scored each respondent based on these evaluation criteria that were just provided to you. So the scores revealed that Randy Kemp and Associates to score out or turn out best were high standard based on their qualifications and their response to the RFQ. We are requesting to approve Randy Kemp for this project, to conduct this study for us. What this does is actually now gives us, if you do approve, it does give us the ability to go back and now negotiate the terms of the contract with them as far as the deliverables and the cost. For this type of service, we're required to base decisions and selections on requests for qualifications and not price. So that's why you don't see that's not included in this mill. They did provide, each respondent provided a separate conceptual cost estimate, but that was not a part of actually their submit. It was not required, but they did so on their own volition. So now will give us the ability to go back to Randy Kemp and start negotiations with them on cost and the actual deliverables in the terms of this contract.
And now are you asking for us to approve the $45,000 to pay for the study, or to approve you to go and negotiate and then bring back a price?
I would ask for approval for both, not to exceed 45,000. We have 40 in the budget. I feel like we can trim down to 45 based on their submission. I think we can trim that down.
Well, I've looked at what Randy Kemp, what's embedded in our package. You've read this, you looked at this. I'm assuming they're going to look at all of these things like the widening and 95. I mean, I see project understanding and those that are the little balls outside.
The bullet points,
yeah. Determine appropriate system connectivity within the study area. Define alignments with I mean, some of this stuff is, who knows what it means. The other is specific. I know we do need to have an understanding of the widening of 242 North. We need to know the impact and how we're going to handle that. There are things that are, but some of this stuff that I don't know if there's. Tell me what it means. What does this mean?
So basically, you're going to look at the capacity of. Well, they're going to look at where we're at today. They want to look at our transportation infrastructure here in this area that we serve today, and really looking at our 2-mile ETJ slot. We did a spherical or a concentrical circle there just to give them an area to look at as part of their package. So it may actually go a little further beyond the 2-mile ETJ, but what they're going to look at is the infrastructure, transportation infrastructure in place today, the capacities or the usage, trips per day, and so on and so forth. So they're looking at traffic counts that's already been produced or published by DOT. And then they'll look at our rate of growth, proposed development, potential for development, undeveloped or underdeveloped and undeveloped acreage that could be developed. They'll also look at some historical data as far as your growth. They'll look at the state CIP to see what's on tap for our area that has a direct impact on our transportation or our traffic flow here in the community. Once they've done all of this, then out of that they'll actually make certain recommendations, and all of this being with community input. This is this is a community process, so, from the very beginning to the end. And then they'll make recommendations out of that, and give us kind of a roadmap of what we need to concentrate on, where our problem areas may be today, what we need to be looking at in the next 10 to 15 years.
So this is something similar to what we did out at the Park, where you get together and community come together.
It is. It'll be a series of public meetings, from the very start. And you'll have those until even through the draft presentation of the final product. We would look for this to be done within this fiscal year, is the schedule we would like to keep to, be completed by July or by June, the end of June of 2019.
Have we ever done one before?
Last one done was either 1990 or 91. It's been a long time. And it gives us having this transportation study actually gives us the ability it gives us something tangible to negotiate improvements in the community with DOT, because a lot of outside of the corporate, the infrastructure that we maintain and own here within the corporate boundary, we don't have, we can make the ask of DOT, but if you have a study there that says, hey, you have a potential problem, you have a problem today, or you have a potential problem based on the rate of growth and the historical data that's in place, and this now gives us something tangible to take to DOT and say, look, this is an issue for us, and it's on our comprehensive plan. We need to take a look at this and get this pushed up on a TIP or get it included on TIP. 242 North is an example. Just a few years back, we made that proposal to have improvements made to 242 to widen it to a 4-lane divided. And it was placed on the TIP, stayed there, did not rank very well. It ranked well in design and function, but just the capacity, there just wasn't enough usage, really, enough daily trips and development's not there to really push the entire length of 242 to be improved today. But it fell off the TIP, and we're trying to get that back in the TIP, but this actually helps with that. And you can see the traffic counts, they may actually do some additional traffic counting while they're out there to get some more accurate counts. DOT's counts are usually about a year old by the time they're published, honestly.
So this gives us leverage when we go to talk with him. For example, when we were talking about the subdivision tonight.
It does.
I think the writing is on the wall. They're not going to listen to anything we say. We can say we'd like to see the speed limit lessened. We'd like to see something at that intersection. We anticipate there's going to be a lot more traffic on that road into 242, but they're not going to listen to us. But this study may be something that you would place in a position with them to look at.
Yes, sir.
Well, can we be very specific? You said we're going to have meetings. Would we be specific on what we wanted them to focus on?
Yes, absolutely. That's what they're for. Yes, sir.
When we had it done in 90 or 91, where is that study now?
I can probably produce a copy. I've seen it. I do not know where it's at currently, but it's an old study. It's way outdated.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
I understand. What did we do with it? Did we actually use it, or did it?
Not a lot. Not that I can see. What was identified as issues then are still somewhat issues today. But there wasn't a whole lot of use to it. To me, it wasn't as comprehensive. It wasn't as specific about certain problem areas or hot spots as I feel like this will be. Ramey Kemp and all of the respondents outside of Triangle J have all performed work under contract for DOT or familiar with DOT standards, and you're just not going to get a lot of assistance. Well, it'll help your case with getting assistance from DOT for DOT right-of-way improvements.
The people I talk to and deal with, they've been very specific. It would be to our advantage to have a transportation study with I-95, 540, 242, and I-40 to have a study that encompasses all that, and it'll give us a lot of information to deal with that they would mess around for a year or two to get it.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I don't question that. You get it. what do you do with it when you get it? You know,
Yeah.
What is it,
hope we use, well, I would want to use it, but.
Yeah. I think one thing you do, you'll get a prioritization of where the immediate, you know, the prioritization where your needs are, transportation needs are, or transportation improvement needs are.
Now, that
So you-
subdivision is not gonna be in place when that study is done. Are they gonna take that into
Yes, because it's an approved development. They will take it into consideration. And anything in process during the study period, anything that comes along, the study will reflect those developments.
Is this, you probably know better than anybody, or Braxton, what the time frame is for that 95 widening? Is this gonna be, if we do this and have it done by the end of the year, would this still be valid for us to use at that point in time? We don't want it to outdate and say we're gonna need another one when they do decide to come.
You'll be ahead of the curve, because I don't believe 95 widening is to start here until 2020.
You know, we'll know this month, I think, what's gonna happen, but they're already working.
Has anyone here from the town of Benson seen anything that relates to 95 in the town?
Yeah.
We have seen.
Yeah, and it was something that we wouldn't approve. And they're back at the drawing board now, and we expect to have a new set of drawings this month.
I just wanna make sure if it's in the 45,000, and maybe use it for that, the DOT doesn't say, hey, we're not gonna do it for 5 or 6 more years, and then they'll come back and say, this is no longer valid for the 5 or 6 years old.
No, I
No,
don't think
you're-
it'll be 5.
Yeah, typically your transportation studies or studies of this magnitude you're like 10 and 20 year out.
They already started doing soil samples on that. I think next year that's when they said they're gonna start getting the land on it.
Yeah, you already have kind of look at that for your design purposes and whatnot. It's a design, 95 is a design build project, so, you know, everything's kind of subject to change as they construct.
Oh, I mean, if we need it, I'm not arguing that, but, and you said it's negotiable still, this is not.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll take this back. We have to select based on qualifications, but we'll go back to Randy Kemp. We'll have those discussions with them about, one, the scope of the contract, scope of the deliverables and whatnot. We've already kind of spelled those out, but we want to be specific. And two, we'll negotiate a definitive price for the price structure for it.
That's not gonna be here, so how are we gonna do that?
Do your job right with the.
You got a town manager sitting over there, wouldn't he do it?
What I proposed for you on your agenda is that Tim Robbins is gonna serve as our lead person on this. He has the most DOT experience. I'll be with Tim every step of the way, and our finance director will be involved with him in any negotiation.
I concur with that. Tim's experience with DOT is perfectly suited for this.
We've already budgeted $40,000 for this project, so we're talking, but you just need to negotiate $5,000.
We can do what we can, but I prefer
not to exceed $40,000 tonight.
But I prefer to leave it at 45 just in case. I don't want to shortchange ourselves. That's the biggest issue. I don't want to get less than what we need out of this. Some of the other respondents, their estimated cost were very substantial. But
I think that's for the approve. Move forward with it.
Motion been made and approved. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
thank you very much.
Matt?
So, Mayor, we had conversed, I'm not sure you wanna discuss H now, or would you like to wait till after the closed session? That's your call.
Let's go ahead and do it.
So what we have before you is an opportunity to consider a contract with N Focus. So as Braston's stepping down, and we've alluded to it, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Braston for his 9 years of service with us, 8 that I've worked side by side with him, as he's taken a great position for himself at the county. We congratulate him on his departure, but we have some steady shoes to fill. And to let you know that today, Erin Joseph had her baby at 12/20, so we're now the proud parents of another baby in the planning department as it's a baby boom at Town Hall. So Erin is obviously out, so she's not here today. and she worked right up through Friday. So she went home over the weekend, and she's now, we're glad to announce that she has her baby son today. So, with that being said, we were trying to plan ahead, knowing that Brasson's last day with us is the 22nd of August. So what we did is we ran an ad for a planner in an interim capacity. We also had received a recommendation from fellow managers in Johnson County that had utilized the company Enfocus. We had reached out to Enfocus, and so what you have before you tonight is our recommendation to consider a temporary firm to get us through this period, regardless of how we choose to hire and who we plan to put in planning, no pun intended. But with Brasson's departure next week and Aaron out on maternity leave for a minimum of 12 weeks, that leaves us without a certified planner in the front office, which is obviously not a condition or position that Benson can be in today with all the growth we have. So what we had done is met an individual from Enfocus that has 20 years experience, and if I'm not mistaken, I think in your packet you should have a copy of that after page 122. And Enfocus had allowed Andrew Thomas to come shadow with us. We met him a week ago. He shadowed all day yesterday, which was really good. And in the event that the board chooses to execute the contract, he would be available as early as tomorrow for our assistants to continue to cross-train with Braston. What we're proposing is that we utilize Enfocus, which would send us a certified planner 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'd have him 20 hours a week, so it'd be 8 on Monday, 8 on Friday, and 4 on Wednesday. And he is working at Archer's Lodge the other 20 hours, so he's in the county and he's readily available via phone. And what we have done in advance of this is we had met with commissioners was transfer Lorraine Shepard over. So she had formerly been in my office with myself and Kim. We have transferred Lorraine to the planning department, and she's been cross-trained since, I think, the start of the month, about a couple weeks back into July. So we tried to cross-train Lorraine in advance of Aaron's departure. And then when Braston provided us his notice, this is why we moved forward with Enfocus. So what we're proposing is that your request is to authorize my office to execute an agreement with Enfocus for temporary services. We negotiated, obviously, yesterday's choose to hire somebody, or if Aaron comes back, and whatever decision that the board chooses to go under, we're at no risk here, but this would provide us a certified 30-year veteran for at least 20 hours a week with access via phone the other 20. Plus, he would attend all your planning board meetings for the month of September, October, November, and December leading into the duration of the contract.
Any questions of the board?
It would be about the same price that, I mean, it's comparable, whatever price was making.
Just give them half the time.
Huh?
Give them half the time.
Yeah, half the time.
Yes, and to also take into consideration, you're not paying benefits and additional items, so there is a cost in it. It's
And this is a strict the 16-week contract. If we approve it in his 16 weeks, if Aaron wanted to come back in 12 or 13, then he would still remain for that 16-week period.
So what we were able to negotiate was we can terminate the contract after a week, 10 or 16 weeks. But what I would propose that we would do is bring Andy in today so that he's here and training with Braston. That leads up to probably 2 weeks of Aaron's time, then 10 weeks more while Aaron would be out. So a total of 12 weeks is what we anticipate if she's feeling well and comes back. What we would also want to do is have cross-training overlay where the baton is being handed to Andy before Braston leaves, and then the baton would be handed back to Aaron if we choose to go that path upon her return. And the proposal that I think I had brought to the board via email was placing Aaron in a capacity of acting for 6 months, which is exactly what we did with Kim, so that there would be a smooth transition. You never want to be without anyone in those critical positions, whether it be finance. We had an interim public works director. We did it with Jamie Guerrero. We're doing this with potentially Enfocus because we ran the ad and we received no applicants that had certified zoning planning experience because they're all working. But yes, sir, it would overlap potentially a couple of weeks at the tail.
Braston, how many projects have you got that you've got oversight on right now? How many different building adventures was going on right now that you're involved?
We have the 61 art complex, we have 48 art development, as a development approval from the think it's required. You're probably gonna see it slow down a little bit, year to time of year, things to do that, and first, fall, 1 month, it's really not a great time, but it's not a bad time. So we can, I think we can do it. Transportation, I would think, my advice is to move forward with that, get it done, get it completed, and kind of push through and decide, other side, people, that's really all about the life. Transportation, most of that is a lot of
Commissioner, in addition to that, you obviously have the potential for Copper Creek, which would take a while to get to vertical. In the immediacy, during that 16-week period, I would anticipate seeing the Cornerstone Restaurant Rehab of Billy Bird's probably come forward, because they're in the first permit process, and we're very close on the Neighbors and Associates building towards the tail end of their construction. And the only other pending that we have would be the Benton building on Parrish Drive, and that's all tentative.
This in focus, they would have, comprehensive ability to permit all of this stuff. They've got the ability to inspect plumbing, electrical, all that.
Well, our inspector's in-house. We have a full-time inspector that hasn't changed, so inspections would be on Jacob.
No glitch, no bump in the road. I mean, a bit bump in the road to be gone, but this, they should be able to step in their shoes and pretty much
it's actually a pretty good time. Most of the ingredients, the one, and then they use more something to it. I just, you hear things, you get a lot of equally, you see it on paper, you see something called the application, it's not there yet, but we do have the one thing to do, and make it another question. Just based on the time of year, and it's just off the quarter. It's not doing it. Based on what market you're
This guy's over at Archer's Launch now. How long has he been there?
I don't know how long he's been in position. I'd have to pull it back up. He's been there a little while.
Yeah, he's been talking to him yesterday. I feel it back to him. He's all again. Apparently, he's been there. I'm putting up another layer and understand, some of the issues and challenges. He understands the rate growth, adding and all that.
Like he's been with the company since 2013.
Do what?
It was like he's been with the company for 16.
So
what about, is it his contract, is the company's contract that gets submitted to us? And I've seen the contract? Good contract, you know, any problems?
No problem at all. The only thing I brought up when I was using the map was, if you like the, if you like the, environmental way, you kind of get somebody like that. Very much understand why it's so like that. You have to go in if you want to try to put it in town. That's not a problem. You determine when you want to go, whenever you were, you have to take it to the base from He's retired, he's not going to go out with most of them, but this is.
He's 8 years with Greenville, or 8 years with Kingston, 22 with Greenville. He had his 30 in-house. He went to Infocus in 16 to keep active. We had that very similar point that Ike brought up with Lorene Shepherd, but that was a unique scenario where we employed her during that period. It exhausted it, and they allowed us to hire her. So we don't anticipate that to be the case with Mr. Thomas.
I make the motion we approve.
I have one question, yes. So the Bob Clark that is the senior planner, we would only utilize him if there was some type of issue. So is he part of the contract that's being paid to
Yes, ma'am.
Andrew? Or
What, it's not Andrew, so
I mean,
he's the person that they're gonna assign to us starting effective tomorrow. if we
Okay.
approve it. In the event that something happens to Andrew, God forbid, or there's a question that elevates beyond him, they have a depth of bench, so you're hiring the firm, not the
Okay,
individual.
okay.
Which is really the benefit to us, is
Right.
you know that if something happens to Mr. Thomas Wednesday, someone would be here Friday.
right.
and
Okay, so
Yes,
that's pretty,
That's the benefit of utilizing a firm instead of finding a temporary retired 20-hour week.
Any other questions?
Anybody else qualify?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Now,
Yes, sir. The one item that I wanted to address in the report that's not listed there, and we wanted to bring to your attention, you see all the events for under Town A, 1724, September 3rd and 11th, as we prepare to get into September for Mule Days. But we also want to remind you that this Thursday at 8 o'clock a.m., Congressman Browser is set to speak at the Coffee Connections for the Chamber. You're invited to that, and it would be in this room because we anticipate a larger crowd like last time. While we're simultaneously announcing that chamber event, I'll give you my direct apologies as to why I won't be in this room, Miss Loretta. I was asked to go speak to 150 teachers at West Johnston on Thursday morning at the exact same time about the creative efforts that the town's brought forward with our lineman or line worker appreciation program and how we're working differently to craft careers for our local Johnson County students. So myself and one other staffer will be attending that event, and then I believe there will be 2 members here attending with whoever from the board can attend with Congressman Rogers. So we'll have representation of both, and then we'll have media representation of both.
that's all you.
Yes, sir. Is there anything else?
One thing I wanna do before we get into commissioners is, I said that we need to, approve Ike to be the attorney for the this year. So, the board has to approve him, even though he's been working on a month-to-month basis. So I'll entertain a motion to
I'll make
keep
the
Ike
motion.
as the attorney.
I'll make the motion that we retain Mr. Parker as our attorney.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay. Town attorney, you have anything?
I want to say thank you again, Mr. Holly, and Mayor, all board. Appreciate that very much personally. Also want to say that last week, I was very much looking into it, and, very happy to do it. I don't have
Any board of commissioners?
I have something, we all know that Benson is a beautiful place, and it's a wonderful place to live. And part of it is the way the town looks, but also part of it is the people that live in this town. And, we lost a beautiful person in Evelyn Rhonda, and I just wanted the public to say that, I know that's what we all think, and, she's gonna be greatly missed.
Anybody else?
I'll just reiterate and congratulate Braxton on his new position. We'll be in. So, thanks for all you do.
And Warren, just at the time
I also would like to take the opportunity to thank you for the work that you've done for the town. We certainly do appreciate it.
I think them on the phone Friday, I believe it was Friday. Tried to convince him to stay, but.
Well, I haven't talked to you in a while, Brad, but congratulations, and hope everything works.
Put your red socks on.
I have, yeah. Okay.
Anybody else?
When, this is a question, when do we anticipate having some definition from the state on this, wastewater treatment stuff?
We received a communique from Diener yesterday, yesterday, and we responded to them. There was one follow-up question that they had. They told us they were reviewing our response as of yesterday, so they didn't give us an ETA or time.
I'm just asking, did they say, well, but you're no longer into this so much penalty per day, or do we know, or do they just not say?
It's not necessarily a penalty per day, it's a penalty per transaction if you don't rectify it. And we remediated our issues immediately. So, really where I think we stand is a penalty that would be resultive of our actions or inaction. So, we're not under a per day situation, to my knowledge.
Well, I thought the levy, that's what it should.
But we rectified the spill immediately.
So there's nothing that we could still be getting hit with daily on for some part of that?
Not to my knowledge, and I'd ask the attorney to opine on that for us as well, because he's been involved in those readings, so I wouldn't, sure, I wouldn't.
I think everything's been rectified, but again, when you, and that's in regard to the pumping out of the one pond that was
Flooding.
lagoon, that was, pond that was flooding the lagoon, that was, that had the low amount of freeboard. I don't know what to call the spot, but he's out there every day, so I think they probably are well below the minimum at this point, so, the other issues that we addressed in those violations too, I think have all been rectified. And those letters all state that statutory provision of the maximum fine of that $25,000 per day. We have had issues in the past, for instance, the aerial line fall. I don't think they're gonna elect to assess such a penalty. But the statute allows them to do that, to get you in compliance. All the issues were immediately looked after, and were looked after as quickly as they can be in the event that they were something that took several days to repair.
Any idea when they'll give us some?
I've been Matt's been in more contact with them than I have, but from my contact with them and from what I've seen them send back over to us, they give us no word on that, unfortunately.
Any other commissioner? Why are you standing up there? The mayor wants to know about the dogs.
I have a note written on my hand to address that with you at some point at the appropriate time, because I didn't see it for the meeting. I had a conversation with the county attorney. It was a good conversation. The dog issue and the enforcement of our ordinances is gonna be something that we have to do. We can talk more about specifics in terms of what our ordinances allow us to do, what our staff are able to do. She did pledge the assistance of the county in any way they can, but they can't assist us in, they can't enforce our rules for us. So we'll still have to take up the problem on our own.
When you're talking, you wanna talk to me on the side.
It was at some point, we probably need to have a discussion, but yes, I did make contact with
We got to take care of the dogs. They're agitating the community and they don't need to be around.
It's not even yours, Max.
2 years now.
That was.
Oh, do you want 5 dogs?
I've already got one.
Well, I know the former mayor pro tem, Mr. Nelson, would definitely be glad that this board is taking up these dog issues, because those that, well, all of you know, I'm sure, but those members of the board that were on the board with him, know that was definitely one of his items to focus on.
Is there anything else before we adjourn? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
And I'll make that motion.
We adjourn, or we want to close session?
No.
Huh?
You gotta adjourn. All right, we're going into closed session. GS 143-318.11 A6.
I'd like to let you go into closed session, GS 143-318.11 A1.
May I request a 2-minute recess?
Yeah, we're gonna have like a 5-10 minute recess.
Okay, so we're out of session now, our closed session, we're back in open session, is that right? So now is the time to make the motion, is that?
Well, you can either make the motion to amend the document, or we can.
I would like to put forth a motion that we amend or take out the language that's gonna prohibit him, all right, read that last one.
Okay,
Read the words that we need to take out.
and with approval of the Board of Commissioners in the last clause
I make a motion that we strike that,
of chapter 31.25C.
okay? No. You ready? I made a motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
No.
You don't have a vote, man. So one opposing.
All right,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
wait a minute. The ayes, raise your hand. That's the majority. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
And I'll second it.